A Taste of Honey by Shelagh Delaney. Hi, my name is Vana and I'm going to be talking about A Taste of Honey, a fascinating play that focuses on a volatile relationship between a mother and her daughter. However, what makes the story stand out is the sheer amount of themes that focus on social issues demonstrated throughout the play, some of which people might not have realized and had gone unnoticed. The story starts with Helen, a 40-year-old single mother with a domineering and selfish attitude who lives an unstable life that revolves around alcohol and her romantic relationship with lovers, whom she depends on financially, and her 17-year-old daughter Jo, a critical teen with rebellious impulses towards her mother due to the lack of affection she received from Helen. They move into a rundown flat and don't have much money from constantly moving from place to place. Their confrontational relationship includes a lot of bickering, resentment, absence, and lack of care. Not long after they started unpacking, Peter, a baldly assertive young car salesman and one of Helen's lovers, followed her to her new location. He asks for Helen's hand in marriage, playfully at first, which later became genuine. One day, Jo walks home from school with her boyfriend Jimmy, a black sailor with a tender heart. He's going to leave for 6 months with the Navy. Before he does, he asks Jo if she would marry him. She accepts and hangs the ring on her neck as a necklace, tucked away so that Helen wouldn't spot it. Upon returning, Helen shares with Jo that she's marrying Peter. When Peter enters their flat, it resulted in a heated argument between the three. It led to Helen and Peter leaving Jo all alone. When Jimmy came to check on her, he finds Jo sobbing and starts comforting her, embracing her for what Jo feels like would be the last time. Helen's wedding day arrived right after Christmas. Jo, in her sick state, couldn't attend, to which Helen saw Jo's ring under her pajamas. Helen chastised Jo for agreeing to marriage so young, and before leaving for her wedding, Jo asked for more information about her real father. Helen replied that he was not very bright, a bit retarded, but he was a nice man. A few months later, Jo worked 2 jobs to pay the rent for the crummy flat. She's visibly pregnant and there's no word from her boyfriend. She returns from the fair with her friend Jeff, an art student and later Jo's roommate, when she offered him to stay after presumably being kicked out by the landlady for his homosexuality. Jeff shows signs of concern towards Jo's problems and accommodates her during her pregnancy, growing closer as friends. He later contacts Helen in secret, but she arrives on the scene. Jo finds out and they start to argue. Helen shows concern and offers money and a place to stay, only for a tipsy Peter to take it away, suggesting Helen to go with him. Months go by and Jo and Jeff happily wait for the baby's arrival. Helen comes back with her luggage in tow, stating that Peter threw her out. Planning on staying, she gets rid of Jeff for good by acting harshly during Jo's absence and showers Jo with attention and gifts. Comforted by her mother at the start of her contractions, Jo shares that her baby would be black. Taken aback by the information, Helen hurries out to have a drink, leaving Jo. Troubled whether she would be back, Jo starts singing a melody Jeff once sang to her. This marvelous work was written by Shelagh Delaney when she was only 19 years old. Delaney was born in 1938 in a small suburb of the Greater Manchester area in northern England and grew up in a working-class family of Irish ancestry. In spite of struggling with her education, she established an interest in writing. Her daughter, Charlotte Delaney, states that her mom came to write A Taste of Honey because she loved to read, she loved to write, she kept failing her 11+. She went to the pictures every Saturday, saw movies where nobody spoke like the people she saw around her, nobody looked like the people she saw around her. Delaney wrote the novel A Taste of Honey in just 10 days, but soon changed it for a play instead to renew British theatre and shed light on social issues of the time. Considering the historical context of the play, we can find that the social climate in Britain after the Second World War was altered due to reassembling their economy, which included mass education opening to the public. However, working classes were not able to use their newfound knowledge for more profitable jobs. It was also a dark period of feminism where society advocated for women to be stay-at-home mothers and discouraged them for attending their jobs. Now that we have a bit of an idea of what the story was based upon, there are themes in the play that the audiences can visibly detect that speaks for its own. However, I'm going to gather all the themes, combine them into 4 categories, and mention them in 4 scenarios and how they are represented. Mind you, these themes were constantly brought up. Here are just a few examples. The first one being care and responsibility. Helen and Jo's relationship is very rough. with Joe criticizing Helen about everything since Helen paid little to no attention to what her daughter did growing up. This made Joe feel neglected whenever Helen picked men over her. So, Joe had to take matters into her own hands, making her more mature. This also led Joe to act disrespectfully towards Helen, calling her by her first name for not living up to the title of a mother, which Helen does not mind and doesn't attempt to make it up for it to gain Joe's trust. This is very evident when Helen is about to leave with Peter to eat, but when Joe objects that she was hungry too, Helen casually mentions the food was in the kitchen, claiming she was never a proper mother to make her meals and that she should go fetch it herself or not eat at all.
Oh, come on, I'm hungry.
So am I.
There's plenty of food in the kitchen.
You should prepare my meals like a proper mother.
Have I ever laid claim to being a proper mother?
Helen insists that Joe should learn to take care of herself, stating that focusing on others' needs is a waste of time of one's own. Thus, Helen did not realize after they moved into the shabby flat her daughter's artistic talents, revealing how little she knows about her hobbies and interests. Even though Helen encouraged Joe to go to a proper art school, Joe refused, claiming her interest in school was over due to changing schools every time they moved. The second theme is love, sex, and friendship. Living off of Helen's immoral earnings from her more successful lovers involving sex, Joe is disgusted at the thought of not committing to the relationship and rather doing sex for the pleasure or the money.
You can't afford to lose a man like me.
Can't I?
Ah, this is the old firm. You can't renege on the old firm.
I'm freelance. Besides, I'm thinking of giving it up.
What?
Sex. Men.
What have we done to deserve that?
It's not what you've done, it's what I've done.
Oh, darling, you do it so well.
Give over, Peter.
Yet Joe engages with the man herself, pushing aside her suspicions to attempt at finding the pleasure of love. However, when her boyfriend did not return to her, she was convinced that intimate love causes nothing but problems. When her friend Jeff spent more time with her, Joe understood that love does not come in one form, and that love from a friend is just as warming and satisfying, something she rarely received. The third theme is gender, class, and race. Between the ladies' social class, Jeff's homosexuality, and Jimmy's skin color, they each encountered social marginalization differently. In the play, we see the two ways in which a person behaves towards sexual differences. With Helen, she did not take it too kindly when she heard about her grandkid's skin color or what kind of a person her daughter had sexual intercourse with. She tends to categorize people according to what constitutes socially acceptable behavior. Joe, on the other hand, accepts people's diverse aspects, whether it's their race or sexuality. In a scene where Jimmy kisses Joe out in public, he asked her if she was afraid somebody would see them, to which she confidently replied that she didn't care. Jimmy was flabbergasted at her response, which emphasizes the conservative viewpoint that English society had at the time toward interactional relationships.
Oh, don't do that. You're always doing it.
You like it?
I know, but I don't want to do it all the time.
Afraid someone will see us?
I don't care.
Hey, say that again.
I don't care.
You mean it too. You're the first girl I've met who really didn't care.
She also opened her home to Jeff despite the sexual diversity, which she embraces, highlighting that accepting social change was just starting to become more relevant. The final theme is rebellion and independence. It was quite clear that all Joe wanted was to land a job and start earning so that she could move out and away from her mother as soon as she could. However, when her life took a turn and her mother moved out before she did, leaving the apartment to herself, it didn't take long for her to realize that living an independent life has its challenges, one of which includes loneliness. But with Jeff assisting her, Jo was able to gain her strength and even celebrates the occasion of her liberty and youth. She becomes self-assured and confidently states,
My usual self is a very unusual self, Geoffrey Ingram, and don't you forget it. I'm an extraordinary person. There's only one of me like there's only one of you.
Jo was optimistic about the future in spite of the fact it is unclear what her life may end up becoming after her child's birth. Her resilience and strength that she had received allowed her to move forward more than before her previous self, indicating the progress she had made on her own without the influence or care of her mother. Throughout this play, Delaney's main focus was on the youth movement of the working class and the difficulties they faced in the 1950s in England, and their disappointment with the norms of the modern society at the time. Because of this, A Taste of Honey became Delaney's most famous work and was the reason for determining her entire career. Thank you kindly for watching. Have a good day.